Hey guys, CreamCrazy here, welcoming you to my May 2014 Q&A. Thank you so much to all the people who threw the questions through. I'm telling you now, you guys put up some good questions. Now, remember the rule I put up forward that, of course, I don't answer every single question sent, which means some of you may have less questions answered than others. Please do not take that as a swipe towards you, because that would just be really bad. Now, overall, out of the nearly 60 questions I received, I'm answering around 40 of them, because like I said, time constraints. Also, one thing I do want to point out quickly before we do start, some people may have noticed there is a giant huge banner on my channel saying big news coming. What is that? Well, we'll find out soon. I'm not going to reveal anything just yet, but you might see something around. Just thought I'd mention it, just to get you guys' attention to it. Anyway, we're going to start off with Real Harold, and of course, as we always do on these pre-recorded Q&As, with the questions about John Cena, because I always have to kind of kick off with these somewhere. Anyway, do you think John Cena should go back to the Doctor of Thugonomics character? No. Because seriously, it was a gimmick for the time, and now the fact that rap is now extremely mainstream still, and R&B is still technically mainstream, or basically anything like that, it wouldn't seem cutting edge and edgy. Especially coming from WWE. I mean, if they've already done it once, you look at the idea of rapping characters that's come back since in the idea of R-Truth. You think, it's not really interesting, it's not really that entertaining, and generally it just isn't that good. So I wouldn't want to take him back to a character that he's already had. Okay, sure, you can do that with Kane by bringing his mask back, but that's a complete separate entity. That's a separate entity entirely. That is effectively just one case that you can do it, and it will be fine and accepted. In the case of the Doctor of Thugonomics, it was a gimmick for its time, and it shouldn't be brought back. Cranelo Ranelo has two questions here on John Cena. Do you think Cena enjoys getting the massive hate he gets? Now, this is, of course, referring to the IWC sign that he pointed out in the middle of a city, the "If John Cena wins, we shit on him online" shirt, the obvious heel turn quip after WrestleMania 29, you know, all that jazz. The thing is, I've said this before, he knows which buttons he can press to get people pissed off. He knows what he has to do to get the reaction out of both sets of fans. He knows, primarily, the fans that hate him, he knows exactly what to do to make them hate him even more. He knows how to get the kids and all the people who love him to basically cheer him more. He knows, as a wrestler, the most important fact, which is making the audience get a reaction. And most wrestlers can't do that. In WWE's case, but they try. That's all I'm going to say, they try. And to see a wrestler do this in such a good way is a good thing, to quote DDP. The other question is, do you think Cena is holding back young talents? Now, this is an argument that keeps coming up, and everybody is obviously a bit worried because Bray Wyatt's going to be next up against Cena at Payback in a few days. Now, the fact of the matter is, people have always said, oh, he holds them back all the time, and I can understand where they're coming from, that I did foolishly deny that Cena had not that much back control in the backstage area. He technically has some, I will say. But the one thing that I always have been saying in defense of John Cena in his case is that the WWE's backing with the creative team doesn't give him enough of a foundation to work. Honestly, I would think to myself that people would be going over Cena a bit more if the WWE didn't want to book him as some ultra-massive superhero who could not be beaten. Seriously, like, as I can't remember which reviewer said it, I think it may have been John Canton, saying that technically Cena is Superman. Effectively, that he can't be beaten by anyone, he doesn't have a weakness, and that showed in his WrestleMania win against Bray. Now, honestly, he may seem to put back young talent, but you can blame the creative team more than you can on Cena, because WWE want him to be successful so people can be happy, even though a lot of the time that is a complete negative. So, I would only say that the creative team are as much as fault here if you blame Cena. If you blame Cena, blame other people as well, because they are the ones who would pull the strings. I mean, I did mention that Damien Sandow would have been something after losing to Cena. I mean, I got shat on by someone in the comment section in a Schleg Daddy video of the same topic by highlighting that Damien Sandow looked strong. He says, strong? He got beaten by a one-armed Cena. Yes, he did get beaten by a one-armed Cena, but in the match, he looked $1 million. In the match, he looked good. He was made to look good. He made himself look good as a wrestler. So, there's no... And the thing is, if WWE Creative had stuck with Sandow and said, hey, you're pissed off after losing, we're going to try and put you in a title feud with Cena and Del Rio, adding more flavour to this thing. They didn't bother with it. Why? Who knows? But all I know is that that's one example of the creative team not pushing along with the story. And just dropping it because they think, oh, it's done. Money in the Bank's gone, this guy has no interest to us. And now he's Davy Crockett and Magneto. So you see the problem. That WWE's creative team need to be working to ensure that everybody has something going on and everything happens nicely. This one here is from Dave, who is WWE Fan Dave on Twitter, asking, how would you react to seeing John Cena in your local grocery store? I would be really happy to see him around where I am, because again, where I go for university and home is small towns and villages out in the countryside. It would be amazing to see that, because it shows that, wow, Cena and WWE wrestlers like to go visit these places. But overall, that would be kind of nice. I'd like it, really, because I get to talk with John, I get to say hi, I get to maybe get an autograph and a photo, because he's nice like that. I mean, it would be nice. It would be really good. Really nice. Nintendo Fanboy 1988. What if Cena and Orton, or both of them, made a jump to TNA? Will TNA's ratings skyrocket like the NWO did to WCW in the 1990s with Hall, Nash, and Hogan? Now, this is an interesting thing here, because this is one reason that people are thinking, hey, if WWE stars of this magnitude did, TNA will actually have some good amount of money in their pocket, and they'd have a good reason to go forward more. Well, the one thing I will say in this is that if Cena and Orton did go, it would send an audience to TNA just to see how they're doing. You know, they would want to see how they're debuted, and they wouldn't want to see, WWE guys going in there and making TNA established guys look like crap. They wouldn't want to see that. So, overall, it would do some benefit, but I believe, in the long run, this is not going to be a good thing. Because people, immediately, if they see them doing well, they're going to go, oh, fuck this. But the thing is, if Cena and Orton do go, WWE isn't going to lose that much in some regards. I mean, sure, some people are going to go because Cena did, some people are going to go because Orton did, but a lot of fans don't like either of them, so they're going to be happy, and then will maybe tune in more on television, because they know these two are gone, and they would want to see what WWE does. So, it's a double-edged sword, but I don't think it'll make TNA's ratings go that high, because people will just get sick of it quickly. And unless they do something monumental, which TNA won't do because their booking standards are just all over the place, it wouldn't work out well. So, there we go. I'm going to try and pronounce this name right. Leno Gino. If I've said that wrong, please do say so in the comment section on how it should be pronounced. I apologise in that case, if that is definitely the case. What are your thoughts on Jeff Hardy as Willow? Now, I answered this question in my live Q&A last month. I really don't understand it because I didn't follow Jeff Hardy in this gimmick in his younger days, obviously, because I didn't fucking know about it. The honest thing is, I know he wants to try and make his gimmick fresh and just keep himself from going stale like a Spot Monkey would do. Well, a face paint wearing Spot Monkey would do. The problem is, I don't really find the character interesting at all. Like, I know it's Jeff Hardy under there, but I don't really understand why it's there. You know, if there was some overbranching storyline of some creepy faction that Abyss was forming together to try and swarm and take over the company, a la Ministry of Darkness, then that could be understandable, because Willow's appearance looks kind of fucking weird. I would have thought, wow, they've taken Jeff Hardy and made him into some kind of weird person who believes a tree. I don't exactly know the gimmick fully, because I don't watch a lot of TNA, but it would be a really creepy gimmick if done right. But then again, it's a creepy gimmick that wouldn't work because Jeff Hardy is not that good on the mic, so there you go. I mean, overall, I don't really know what it's there for, and I don't understand why it's happening. If someone could fill me in, that would be fantastic. Speaking of TNA, or former TNA of course, John Kunkt asking, what are your thoughts on Jeff Jarrett? Solid in-ring performer, a good mic worker, but overall one of the most statistical and full of self wrestlers I have ever seen. This guy is really quite full of himself, but luckily, over the years he's kind of realised, you know what, it's not all about me, it's about pro wrestling, and that's why Global Force is now in force. I mean, overall, when his TNA run, he was the face of it. I'm thinking, really? An owner making themselves the face of the company? Who stupidly would do that? Vince did it once or twice. Never mind. Fact of the matter is, Jeff Jarrett was always an interesting performer when I watched him. I never found him too special, but I always found on the mic he was quite good. And he could easily say his way out of anything. So that's one positive I could say. Lardist85, what did you think of the Kerwin White gimmick? I've said this before that I found the gimmick to be a bit silly. I didn't really see why Chavo Guerrero did do this and why it was done, but it was a good way of generating heat, so what more can I say? I mean, if Eddie didn't die, I could imagine this being reasonably successful, but, I mean, it was just a really small gimmick that didn't go anywhere, I'm guessing. John Kunkt, your second question, what do you think of Alicia Fox's new gimmick? Now, I've made this apparent that one of the most entertaining things to come onto Raw and WWE programming in the last couple of weeks has been Alicia Fox's psychotic downward spiral, in just the fact that it's just hilariously weird to watch. Because we've been used to seeing divas as just standard, plain, characterless shells. And to see a diva that completely bucks the trend in such a spectacular way is amazing. I mean, seriously, I liked Alicia Fox briefly when she first won the title, because I thought, okay, she looks a bit different, she wrestles a bit different, she looks a bit young, and it's fresh. And over time, she just became like the rest of them. Hell, in her looks, she technically does look like the same, but the personality is what makes this different. The personality is what makes this in-ring wrestler in the women's division interesting. Because now, every time she wins or loses a match, she will lose her shit. And I like that, because it proves that, yeah, some people, some drama queens, some diva, as you would say, would lose their shit just because they didn't get their right way. Hell, fuck it. Even when winning, she loses her shit. I mean, after seeing 2 or 3 weeks in a row what she does, okay, she lost, she freaked out, started just losing her stuff, and then pouring drinks all over herself. She just stole JBL's hat and went. She then, when winning, pours drinks all over herself and just jumps on, celebrating with King's crown on, going, I am the queen of all of you in England. All good, because that's one thing you need to do, to rip off on that. Then, upon losing again, she beats up members of the technical crew. Rings the ring bell, which is microphoned, mind you, not just to annoy the audience, but to annoy the commentators, giving a technical guy a wedgie, and just sexually provocating this guy by pouring a drink not only on herself, but him as well. I mean, this character is refreshing. It's really fun to watch, but it's also freaky to watch, because I haven't seen it from a diva in a while. So, yeah, I mean, in the absence of AJ, who is the only legit character with personality in the Divas division that we've had for a while, it's good to see that while she's gone, another diva just said, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get attention on myself. And that's what's so brilliant about it. That's what's so fantastic about it, is that it is just really refreshing to see from the Divas division as a person who we are actually keeping our eyes on. Too bad it's not the Divas champion, which is what we do want. Now, I got these sent from Final Limits from a user who's not on YouTube anymore, but the title of Bubblegum Flavoured Steroids, which I'm laughing to myself because that's a funny name. What do you think of Maven? The first Tough Enough winner. Okay, this should be intriguing. I found that Maven was way too plain. Now, that could be taken in many different ways, but the fact of the matter is, he really had no personality. He was just the first Tough Enough winner and nothing else. Sure, he had a fantastic moment, which will be remembered forever, in his elimination of The Undertaker at the Rumble in 2002, followed up by his beating at the hands of said Taker. Of course, he had his memorable small part of a massive face run up against Evolution in the General Manager War at Survivor Series 2004, and actually was reasonably popular for that period of time. He actually had a good placing in the company. And he could have won the Intercontinental title from Shelton Benjamin a couple months later. He had potential, he was a solid in-ring worker, but he was overall just too plain. And I really don't understand how a character that plain is on WWE TV week in, week out. Same can be said for a few people on the roster today, mind you. Okay, next we have NatureGirl30 asking me, do you feel that the storyline with Daniel Bryan should have ended at WrestleMania? Now, the one thing a lot of people have been saying about the recent Daniel Bryan situation is that they've stretched it out for too long, it's boring, and effectively it's just worthless to watch. Now, please do note, there are two sides to every coin, you see. Now, this feud all centered around Daniel Bryan fighting his way up to win the title, and he now has. The thing is, we've now seen the chase. We've now got to see how not only Daniel Bryan reacts to being champion, but we're also got to see, as we would notice by looking at WrestleMania 30 and what happened, exactly what the Authority will do to try and get under the guy's skin. It's just how any feud dynamic works. There are two sides to it, and effectively, we saw the new equilibrium at the end of this narrative with him winning. And the fact of the matter is, not all feuds, not all rivalries have to end on a happy ending. You see, Daniel Bryan could easily lose the fucking title, and the feud could end right there, and they could just use their power to demote him back down. But of course it won't. It'll end in a happy ending, because that's how WWE's narrative structure works. Stupidly. Overall, I feel the storyline shouldn't have ended at WrestleMania, because that gives us something to look forward to going into the summer. Now, when it reaches the summer, and if it doesn't end after that, then I would say to someone, hey, this should have ended then, shouldn't it? Next from Josh Brown, who do you think will hold the belt after Daniel Bryan, and who do you think should? Okay, who do I think will hold the title after Daniel Bryan is a bit more challenging knowing what we have coming at Payback, because of course Daniel Bryan has to give up the belt, or his wife gets fired. I'm guessing it's going to be Daniel Bryan losing the title. Now, I don't really know who it's going to go to. People are saying John Cena, because there's a rumour going round, if I can hear it from the fans, not any news sites this time, that it'll be put in the match with John Cena and Wade and Bray Wyatt, and Cena will win, and that's not going to happen. You see, with Daniel Bryan going out of action, there are two ways this could go. Now, I'm thinking to myself, would it go to Kane? Most likely. Because it means, hell yeah, we get to see him come back and fight Kane in what was going to be the Buried Alive match at Payback, and which would now probably be at SummerSlam, and we get to see Daniel Bryan hold himself high as champion once again. It's a built-in storyline waiting to happen. Triple H winning it back would be the same kind of thing. Although if he did, you'd then see the Shield being recruited by Daniel Bryan, or recruited on by themselves, to take Triple H down, leading to Roman Reigns maybe getting a shot. Then leading to a triple threat match, but we've seen too many triple threat matches at a SummerSlam to really care anymore. So that wouldn't happen. The fact stands that those are the only real options. I mean, unless you want to count in a returning CM Punk, who comes in at Payback after Daniel Bryan retreats the title. Stephanie says, you know what, I think I know who to give this to. Punk comes out, just takes the title and leaves. It's like, yep, I'm taking what's mine. Cheers! And that starts another huge story going, it starts another storyline with Punk, but then again, that's very unlikely, because I do not see Punk coming back, so that's just wishful thinking on my part, knowing where we're going to be in however many days' time. Yeah, all good indeed. Anyway, next, we have some questions about the Wyatt family, of course. We have one from Final Limits here, two from Final Limits here. When do you see the Wyatt family splitting up, and where do you see Rowan and Harper going when they do? Okay, this is a really interesting question, because the Wyatt family, to me, can't really split up until Rowan and Harper start having their own successes. Because obviously we've seen them go after the Usos in recent weeks, and I'm hoping we see a tag team title match between the two. I personally would like to see the Usos lose the belts and give them to the Wyatt family members, because it would make sense. I'd like to see it, because seeing the Usos not really face anyone for the titles week in, week out, month after month is annoying me. So if they're not defending it, give it to someone else. The honestly thing is that until that happens, the Wyatt family can't go anywhere. Unless Bray Wyatt wins the title, and then you have Rowan and Harper winning titles, and then the dissolution from those losses will inevitably happen. I can possibly see the Royal Rumble next year as being a place for that. Maybe if Rowan and Harper decide to eliminate Bray Wyatt from the Royal Rumble, perhaps. I would like to see it, because then you'd wonder who the hell could be a good guy in this situation. Rowan and Harper, I don't really know what they're going to do. I mean, Harper I could easily see being a good mid-card, upper mid-card later, wrestler who wins mid-card championships, and it's just a really, in a way, if Sheamus is injured, or Sheamus or Cesaro just doesn't really have a position in that at the moment, like for example if Cesaro is up there in the main event scene and Sheamus re-enters that scene, you could technically use Harper as a ginormous strong guy who could just whip the crap out of people to win belts, like Cesaro and Sheamus and Wade Barrett and people like that are doing now. So I can see that good for him. Harper is good. Rowan, I don't know what's going to happen, because at least Harper has some form of a personality to him. Rowan has just got a sheep mask. I don't know what they're going to do with him. And it's annoying, because it's like in most three-person factions. You have a member you love that you know is going somewhere who stands out. You've got the second fiddle who you can see potential for, but you don't know what's going to happen. And then you've got the third string who you could see doing something, but the likelihood of that happening due to what little you've been given is obvious. It's not going to happen. So I don't know what's going to happen with Rowan, and yeah, it's just, to me, not going to go too far for Rowan. I don't know what they're going to do, so I can't answer it fully. Where do you see Bray Wyatt this time in next year, in 2015, which is now late May, early June, so going towards the pay-per-view prior to Money in the Bank, if I would be thinking so. Will he be strong and have the fans eating out of his hands, or will he be a jobber in joke segments like Santino? He will not be in that position, I can tell you now, because this is a character and a gimmick that has so much going for it that it's just gold. Why would you want to put something so entrancing to the audience, something that has gotten this guy over, to literally just put him in a jobber segment? It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense at all. And that's the one thing that annoys me. People think, oh, the minute he loses to Cena, he'll be dead and buried forever and he'll never see these rises again. One thing I want to see Bray Wyatt do, in between this match here in this upcoming week and next year, win a title of some kind. Which is all well and good. I want to see him win a title. I've already just mentioned that in the last question. 2, I want to see more of those cultish things. We've already seen him recruit tons of kids to go up against John Cena in the creepiest way possible. That's all well and good. We've seen him mentally try to break Cena through these acts, through his words, which is all good. We've seen him get the fans in the palm of his hand, waving mobile phone lanterns and singing along to his every word and praising him, like any cult leader would. And I did mention I would like to see him do more heelish things like this, and do things like the kid entrancing. But the thing is, because of what WWE is doing with the character, we can't see it. They keep him grounded to this. We keep him grounded to the in-ring. And it's not going to work. I'd like to see him do cultish things. Things that would horrify a viewer. When you look at a cult movement, people who are in the movement, or people who kind of understand the movement, often look and say, this is a wonderful thing. But of course, look at the cult of personality and the cult of whatever it is in North Korea. We can immediately see that that is full of negatives, full of strife, full of awful things happening. And if you are a cult member, you get these things shown. The Westboro Baptist Church is a cult. We see tons of people who are brainwashed and saying we're doing something for the good of God and mankind. But in actuality, we see it as brainwashing, where people are embarrassing themselves, walking around being hateful assholes. In the case of the Wyatt family, I want to see the Wyatt family progress and do something that would legitimately shock people. And I'm not going to say they're going to go this far, but almost like they can show, like, if they get desperate to try, for example, if Bray Wyatt does lose and the fans are disenchanted, if the fans start going, you know what, this guy can't do the things that he's promising, we're not going to follow him anymore, we then have a problem, because Bray Wyatt's thinking, I'll lose my flock. And he goes so far as into berating people, trying to brainwash them live in public, trying to do all kinds of ritualistic crap. I mean, the Wyatt family could easily become a ministry in its own right. And they could do some weird shit. I mean, not as weird as a fan scenario in one of my created stables in my WWE games, though, which was quite funny. This is quite an interesting thing, where I had some really ultra-Christian people who were very, very pro-God and just said they wanted to spread the word of God. And the tagline is that your blood is our blood is your blood. If you are one unto us, you share our blood. And I remembered myself thinking, okay, if I was going to book this, how would I make these guys get the most hatred and the most fear that they could possibly do? Well, they take a wrestler and do the most weird thing I could think of, which was do a blood transfusion of their blood with the blood of the leader of the faction. Now, of course, the Wyatt family wouldn't do something like that, because that's just weird and would incur so many problems, it would be really bad. However, if they could do something that would shock, appall, and really freak out people, they can then be seen as a real force of fear. And if they win titles along with it, and show a viciousness that hasn't yet been shown because of that calming, alluring restraint that Bray shows to get people behind him, then that shows how most cult movements go. They start out quite small and reasonable, and then they explode into random shit happening. So I would want to see Bray Wyatt use that to go into the main event scene in the latter part of 2014, to then be a major player in WrestleMania in 2015. So he would then go into WrestleMania in a really high-profile match, maybe winning the title. I don't know at this point, because I can't predict that far ahead. By the time he gets to June, maybe he's in the process of, if he isn't going for the title, he wins the Money in the Bank, goes on to SummerSlam that year and wins the title in Los Angeles, the biggest cult of entertainment. So you see where that links in? I mean, overall, it would be interesting. I mean, maybe he won't win the title against a Daniel Bryan at, say, a SummerSlam or a Night of Champions or a Survivor Series this year, but I could see him winning the title later. You know, the Wyatt family to me are still going to be good, but as long as the WWE keeps our interest, as long as the WWE keeps them interesting for us to still be behind him, he will still have the world in his hands. So, yeah. That's all I'm going to say on that one. I went a bit too far with that, but that's just how it goes. 3 Count asks, out of the two, who do you like more, Harper or Rowan? Harper, no question. Good in ring talent, decent mic work, overall has potential to be built on and made a lot better than he currently is. Yao Pipoka, now, I've said this before to you, Yao. Thank you for sending questions in. But I will not be answering any more questions relating to Delexman that come in from you, or from anyone else for that matter, because I'm getting sick of answering these questions in my Q&As. Would you please stop? I'm asking nicely, would you please stop? But this one is interesting because it's not really about Delexman himself, which makes it the reason why I picked this for the Q&A in the first place. What do you think of Delexman's friends who join him on the videos like the Casual Viewer and Preston? I've mentioned before that while Preston is entertaining, he does annoy me somewhat, mostly due to the Rey Mysterio love, his unfazed view of looking at things, and overall, it's kind of like a casual fan and a mark mixed together, and both aspects are still there, you know? Like, for example, most people believe that Smarks or Smart fans don't effectively have any casual side to them. And casual fans have no real desire to look into the in-depth. It's like he's mixed both together into one, and that's how he is. It's annoying because it almost feels like a split personality thing, personally. Casual viewer, on the other hand, find him quite entertaining because I love that spin on things. Seeing a guy who doesn't watch regularly, who just watches it and goes, well, this is what I see and how I would see it. It's blunt, it's fun, and it's overall very good. It's like one of my housemates watching Raw with me some months ago and was just pointing out things to me. I was trying to explain it, and it didn't turn out very well. So that thing is really fun to do because it adds another spin on it that we don't usually have. It's quite fun. I'm going to take another swig of my water here because I've been going for half an hour without a drink. Yay. Okay. Next, from 3 Count. This I found quite interesting. What are the differences between a mark and a smark? Aren't they the same? Or in your case, aren't they the bloody same? You, Deluxe Man, and Good Mic Work have said it in different wordings. Now, that is an interesting question. Because I've realised, after looking this up on a TV Tropes line of information, that smart wrestling fans are smarks. They are the fans who believe in overanalyzing and taking it far too seriously to the point where it just becomes funny. And overall, that's what we do. We take it so far, I'm always either laughing, grimacing, or face-palming at most things people do. A mark is a person who is just a pawn in the game. A person who effectively just takes it for face value as is. What a casual fan does. But we've turned the idea of marking out in that form. It's a verb. Marking out meaning that we lose our collective shit. That we are invested, but not in a critical way. We're invested because we're actually emotionally losing our mind, and we are taking it in the way that the WWE would want. That's what it really should be. A smark is a smart wrestling fan. And a mark is just a wrestling fan according to the definition on TV Tropes. That's how it should be. And I should use it like that from now on, because I've used marking out. I've used marks. But maybe I shouldn't use casual fan anymore and just call them marks. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, smarks is more of a fun word because it also means it gets a bit of an air of superiority in the smark. Just going, I'm superior. But most of the time that isn't really the case, is it? Josh Brown asking, what is my favourite match from 2014 so far? Now, Cesaro and John Cena had a fantastic match on Raw in February, which is up there. For me, though, does it have to be WWE related? Because I could easily put a Progress match in there for all due purposes. It's hard to really say, personally. It really is hard to say. If I was at the Prince Devitt Zack Sabre Jr. match earlier in the month, I would have said that because it looks fucking amazing. But for me, WrestleMania, because I was there live. Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, and the main event. I haven't really given it a critical, full-on review yet to say which one is better, but they're up there. But I think overall, the match that wins is the Shield versus the Wyatt family. Holy crap! I mean, until I get a review done of the Daniel Bryan Triple H match and the main event at WrestleMania, I won't be able to say which of those could top that Shield Wyatt family match at Elimination Chamber. That was amazing. So I won't be able to give a full answer on this just yet, but you know it'll be coming in the future. Largest 85, where do you see WWE 50 years from now? Still alive and functioning. I would go into more detail, but that's just too much to ask. Mike Copeland. Now this is an interesting question because it's a very simple one to answer. Would WWE ever allow a wrestler to use a pro-Nazi white supremacist gimmick? No. Quite simple. There is no way in hell WWE would do this. There are a couple of reasons. One, that wrestler would not be allowed on any European tour going through Germany or Austria, or fuck it, anywhere in Europe. Second, the amount of crap it would get from the mainstream press would be huge. Hell, even this Tea Party Republican-style thing that happened with Swagger and Zeb Coulter got critical shit. So, if that's only a small little fry, imagine what's going to happen when this comes in. Not to mention the problem of this being, would it get support of the KKK? Think about how bad that would be for publicity. That they've made a gimmick that white supremacists could latch onto and use as a mainstream vehicle. That's a bad thing. They wouldn't want to do it. I mean, if they do, they wouldn't be able to get very far with it. I mean, what can a person do with that gimmick? They would need to be imaginative. But being imaginative in a scenario such as that would just not be good. The company would get so much negative shit. But it's just something that it would be something on television that would be different. It would be something that would get people's attention, but the negativity of that attention would be very bad for WWE. Ray Lott asking here now, do you think WWE should put NXT in multiple cities rather than just Florida? And you did say around the world as well. Well, the problem with this is WWE likes to keep things centered because it means they know they don't have to have their talent going all over the place like they do, and just it gives them a time to actually judge them. You know, that's the reason why they have the Performance Center, is to basically say to people, look, you come here, part of WWE. We can keep an eye on you, you can train, you can learn, and we can monitor you in a much easier way than going around the world. Because going around the world would create so many problems. So many problems. So I'm guessing it would be a bad thing monetary-wise as well, having to ship more people and equipment around too. Sharoro Harurura asks, what if social media was around in the Attitude Era? Would you see Austin and Rock talking shit to each other on Twitter to build up a feud? I could see that happening, but because the internet wasn't that big, it only really started to become massive around the turn of the new millennium. So it would have been possibly in the latter end of the Attitude Era, going into the invasion angle maybe. But of course, it just wouldn't have done much, you know. If social media was around, it would need to be in the position it is now. And looking back at then, TV was a massive thing. If social media was around, I could definitely see it happening, but my mind is just trying to convince me that it wouldn't be a good thing anyway. So, yeah. Easy. Rico, or Rico H3 if you want to use your actual name. But then again, I don't think you mind too much, Rico, do you? If Bill Goldberg came back, who would be the first 3 guys you would feud against him? Big E, Cesaro, and I'm guessing either a Rusev or a Ryback. Because again, ridiculously strong wrestlers who would be a good match for the Goldberg. Ray Lott's next question. Do you think AJ Lee losing her title had to do with her and CM Punk's relationship? Possibly. I mean, she'd held the title for nearly a year, wrestling day in, day out, week in, week out. She was going to need a rest at some point. It's understandable why she lost it. And I can understand why. The relationship with CM Punk probably just compounded it more. So, overall, it could have done, but I don't think it was the defining factor of it. Kazuya Mishima, if Mr. Perfect was still alive, do you think that he'd still be wrestling and possibly right now be managing and teaming with his son? Now, the drugs that he had used prior would have killed him by now. Would he, if he was alive, would he still be wrestling now? No. He would be training. He would be working with other wrestlers and training them. Because he's a wrestling person in the wrestling family. He would have done. Managing his son? Oh, fuck yes. The amount of good mic work that would have come out of that. Curtis Axel would have been made to look like $1 million. So, yes, it would have been great, but he wouldn't be doing that now. He would either be retired, training, or dead. One of the 3. And now we've got a question from OKFabe. Fantastic talking to you the other day, Connor. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to OKFabe, do so. Because this guy is fantastic, great comedy stuff. It's not usually that I do a shout out in the middle of a Q&A, but OKFabe needs more viewers. Go check his stuff out if you haven't. If you had to make a random tag team to go for the tag team titles, who would you team together and why? Now this is an interesting question because there are a lot of guys in the WWE who could benefit from a random tag team run. However, there's a negative stigma attached to a random tag team pairing. But then again, random tag team pairings can be made to be good. And there is one that comes into my mind because it was rumoured some time ago to be happening. The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. Now you'd have to turn Dolph Ziggler heel, which some people won't like, but at least it means he has a purpose. 2 employers who are pissed off, and not to mention, we haven't seen Miz in ages. I'm actually realising, where the hell did Miz go? Why couldn't we have 2 good, pissed off, verbal cannons just saying, fuck this, and just becoming an entertaining, funny, yet serious tag team? All good for me. I mean, then again, if you think about it, Damien Sandow could go into there and make it a fucking faction. So yeah, all good. I mean, overall, that'll be interesting. A Sandow Miz, or a Sandow Ziggler, or a Miz, you know what I mean? There's a potential there for those lot, and I'd like to see it, personally. John Kunkt, I think this is your last question. Why does Layla get billed from the UK if she doesn't have a British accent? She doesn't sound very British to me. She is from the UK, and because of being in America for so long, her accent has naturally become non-British. I mean, look at John Oliver, formerly of the Colbert Report and Community. He kept his accent. It took a lot of work to ensure it, but he has kept his accent. Michael Caine, even while working in Hollywood films, kept his accent. The thing is, it depends on how much of American life and culture and how long you've been there for. If you've been there for years and years on end, it will change your accent subtly. She still has a British part of her accent, and you can hear it from time to time. It's just not as strong because of her American habitation and living. That's how it is. And that's all it is. When she's in the UK, her British accent is really quite pronounced and quite blunt. So that's just how it is. She is from the UK, and that's just how it is. Can't really go wrong with it. Your next question, OK Fabe. What do you think will be the best plan long-term for, in the next year or so, for Wade Barrett, Bad News Barrett, considering he's clearly being pushed? Now, I could see him being IC champion for a good while now. I'm guessing maybe until Night of Champions or a Survivor Series. I can see him definitely being part of a big team for Survivor Series. I would like to see the Bad News. I'd love to see the Authority use him and go, you know what? We're sick of having to interact with these people and just do shit. Why don't we just get this guy to tell them the bad news? Why not? Why can't we just get this guy to be our physical, aggressive enforcer lackey? This is once Kane's buried alive or gone, of course. And it would overall mean not only is the IC, if he's still IC champion at this point, gives him some footing, and it means he's favourably in a position where the Authority are with him, so people listen more. And overall, if wrestlers are being told, they've got some bad news, oh shit, something's going to happen, and it would overall mean that everything that Wade Barrett says would be more important than it is now. It wouldn't just be slagging off the crowd or the one wrestler in particular. It'll be messages from the Authority. It would mean something. I would see him going into the Royal Rumble as a favourite then. To see a British wrestler win the Royal Rumble, holy crap, that'd be amazing. So I could see him, if he loses the title in the autumn, going on until the Royal Rumble as a favourite, and then going into a reasonably high profile match at WrestleMania. Maybe actually he wins the Money in the Bank this year, maybe he wins it next year. I can see, if he's going to be clearly pushed, they need to put him in a position of limelight. Like they did with Cesaro and Paul Heyman. So even no matter where Cesaro is, we're going to know about it because Paul Heyman's going to be there waffling on about the streak. And waffling on about how Cesaro is the king of swing, the next big thing, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, that's all well and good. And the fact of the matter is, it's just simple. Bad News Barrett, if he's going to get pushed, use his mic work more than his in-ring ability. While he's a good wrestler, it's the mic work that makes this guy interesting. So do it. Use it. Use the personality well and go with it. Kimari Ronso gave me this little fact. Did you know that WWE planned for Ahmed Johnson to have a run with the WWE title back in the day, but he got injured and was inevitably replaced by Sid Vicious? Hold on. So Ahmed Johnson... What? Ahmed Johnson was a threat to everyone in that ring. If you remember him, and I only remember him through retrospective footage viewing, the guy was huge. But that was it. The guy had very little wrestling ability. He injured more people than he did wrestle successive matches. He was appalling. And if he was going to get given a run with the WWE title, I would have lost my mind. I would have said... Really, WWE, you gave the title to this talentless hack? Okay, I'm done. I'm out. And that's just how, if that was the case, I'm happy that Sid Vicious got the fucking belt. I would have been happy in that case. Because Sid Vicious, even if he is a bit of a walking monster, can wrestle. So, yeah, there's a problem there. Kazuya Mishima. Do you agree with assholes that say Owen dying was karma for breaking Austin's neck, or do you strongly disagree with those dicks? I strongly disagree with those dicks. Why would you say such a thing? Why? Why would you even say that? That's awful. If you say that, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Karma for breaking Austin's neck. Fuck. Where do these people come up with this shit? King Romeo. What do you think of Kane setting JR on fire in 2003 on Raw? I liked it, but there's one problem. Stone Cold's part of that. That's a problem because you could tell that Kane setting JR on fire was pre-recorded. And you can tell that Stone Cold is just trying to go along with it. But it doesn't really work and the flow of the piece is just there. It's still an interesting and impactful moment, which I remember happening when I watched a Raw repeat once when I was slowly remembering, holy crap, I need to get into wrestling properly now, that it was a very shocking moment for me. But then, looking back on it, it still shocks me, because they did it. And second, it just makes me think, why did Austin have to be part of it like that? It just ruined it. Final limits. Why are WWE removing names from wrestlers like Langston from Big E, Antonio from Cesaro, and Alexander from Rusev? Why does Orton and Cena not remove their names? Because WWE believes, like a Batista, if you have a single name, you look more deadly and more aggressive. Understandably. A single name makes it interesting. It's like, wow, they dropped the first name entirely because he's that awesome. The honest thing is, though, with a Batista now, is they've kind of crossed the line where you say a Batista, but you also say Dave. Because Dave Batista, it's just so similar to his real name, Bautista, that you can't just call him Dave and get away with it. It's also kind of cool that you humanize a beast like that, and therefore it means his attacks of violence, it makes them even more realistic. So, dropping the names, I can understand dropping a name from Rusev. Alexander didn't sound like it was that threatening. I will agree with WWE on that one. Antonio to Cesaro. I liked Antonio Cesaro as an in-ring name. It was better than most of the ones I come up with in the last couple of years. But Cesaro just sounds fun. Big E, though? Blech. Langston just made it funner. Big E Langston, it just flows off the tongue nicer. Not to mention, I hate having to mention Big E all the time, because if someone fucks up and messes up a letter, you kind of see where I'm going with that. It just, to me, it's just stupid, because Langston is just a better thing to say. Leno Gino, or Leno Gino, whatever it is. Again, if I have said your name wrong, please say so. What do you think the wrestlers do right after their matches when they go through the gorilla position? They probably get some word in from Vince and Triple H behind the scenes there. They rest up. But I know, obviously, with WWE's style of thing, they've got a lot more to do than that. Obviously, they have to go and do some backstage stuff for the Raw Fallout program. They have to maybe get some photo shoots done, because look at the fact that Daniel Bryan had to do that after he won the damn title, of course. You can see that. They do a lot of other things. Maybe they have to go on social media and update their Twitters for the things. They would also have to just get something to eat, maybe. Drink. I don't really know. It just seems very trivial. Like, they have to do WWE official stuff or rest. Seems obvious to me what they do. Rico. Do you believe Undertaker will come back for revenge against Brock Lesnar? Because Paul Heyman keeps bragging, my client, Brock Lesnar, broke the streak at WrestleMania. Oh, I love that joke so much. I just had to put it in the question. I apologize. No. It would be great to see, but no. Because if Taker does do it and then wins, it will just remove all of the meaning behind the bloody thing. It's like, you didn't do this at WrestleMania. Sure, we can blame it on a concussion, but you could have done it then. That's what a Mark would say, or a Smark if they were being dickish. But the thing is, for Brock Lesnar, Taker may come back, maybe, but then I would say, hey, you broke the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania, another wrestler could come, hey, you've done that, try breaking me. Or Daniel Bryan would say, look, I won the title at WrestleMania, you beat the Undertaker streak, you are the biggest guy in pro wrestling today, but the fact of the matter is, I got a spirit that cannot be broken. You may have failed to defeat the undefeated streak, but you will not break me. And just make a feud surefire well out of it. That's how I would see. I don't think Taker will come back, though. Bubblegum flavoured steroids. How was your reaction to the Ultimate Warrior's death as soon as you heard it? And where did you hear it from? Now, the one thing I will say is I do have a video on that I recorded with Rico when we had just heard of Warrior's passing, so go check that out if you haven't. I heard it first from Facebook. I couldn't believe it. I thought, what? Went to WWE.com, had it confirmed, and the first reaction prior to doing that video was of shock, questioning, and just really stunned as to what was going on. But if you want to see the reaction that we did have, go check the video out. It's in the upload section of my channel. Go check that out, because that will say everything. And I've only watched it back once, but I really can't watch that video back. It's just, it's really, really, really weird and really awful. Sharururo Horurura. What was it like at WrestleMania? Live. Did you sit next to good people or really obnoxious smarks? I will say this, WrestleMania Live, I said it in my reaction video, I've said it since, is one of the, if not hands down, the greatest thing I have ever done in my life. It was amazing. Now, going to a Progress show and being in a rabid, incredibly insane crowd like that is amazing in its own right. But being at a WrestleMania, with all those people, with the fireworks, with the sound and just the atmosphere that this thing has, it's wonderful. And it was made all the better by the people who sat next to me, because they were wonderful people. I mean, I had two teenagers who were sitting next to me who had come to WrestleMania for the first time. It was great for them, and they enjoyed it, and so did I. And I also gave the guy a free Coke because I wanted my commemorative cup. I then had next to me two veterans of WrestleMania who've been, this is now their third WrestleMania, who were really nice people, all smiling, were willing to talk about wrestling for ages on end, sharing the reactions that I had. It was fantastic, and not just that, the guy was so nice, he gave me free popcorn. So, I mean, that was just wonderful. You know, WrestleMania was amazing as an event to be at, but being around people who were that nice was just brilliant. It was fantastic, and it was really fun. Raw, though. I was sitting next to some real obnoxious smarks from New York, and they pointed me in the direction of WZR Online, where Ryan Clark resides. They got me informed on him, and they kind of talked down to me, highlighting that I didn't know my shit. I review things on YouTube, for God's sake. I have to know this crap. You can't just belittle me because I don't look at my phone looking for information about the Raw script, the Raw things that are going on, the potential feuds that will come out from events that happen. If you're doing that live in person, you're an idiot. Because that shows the definition of a smark to the fans. If you are looking on your phone at WWE breaking news stories from these wrestling websites live, you are not doing the right thing. The only thing you should be doing at a live show on your phone is going on Twitter and saying things about the show, posting photos. Because you're meant to be watching the show and getting into it and embracing it. They were nice people. I will give them credit where credit is due. They made me feel welcome for the most part. But I do not want to have to sit next to those kind of smarks again live. If I can talk to them and share opinions, like I did at WrestleMania, all's well and good. But these people didn't give me that chance, and it was annoying. So I would rather sit next to a kid who loves John Cena than sit next to smarks. Because at least I'll get some interesting discussion that won't resolve into what happened. And that is the end of the wrestling questions. Now I can get on to the personal questions. Dave, WWE Fan Dave on Twitter, what's your favourite colour? It's very simple. I was going to start the Q&A with this question, but I thought that would be too much like any question session. I like orange mostly. It's a great colour, and also it's the colour that Tails and Cream have in the Sonic universe, which automatically is win on me. I also like purple, because it's just nice. Blue, because I'm wearing a blue shirt right now, and Ipswich Town's colours. They're probably my top 3, and that's probably how it's going to be, and it also rhymes. Holy crap! Leno Gino, or Leno... Seriously, someone's going to tell me how I pronounce this. I know I usually make an effort on the rest, but I'm just giving up here. How do you sleep at night? On your back, on the side, in the fetal position, or face down in the pillow? Fetal position, because it's just comfier. Because spreading your body out across the whole bed, it's just uncomfortable. Real Harold, did you ever watch any of the Karate Kid movies? No, I've seen enough pop culture references from those films done by other things, most specifically the movie's music video that Alien Ant Farm did, which of course used the actual guy from it, but overall I never was interested in them enough at all. Mike Copeland, which state do you believe is the most totalitarian of all time? This is interesting, because there are a lot of them, but of course, I don't know of many in the past 1,000 years that really stand out other than Nazi Germany, or technically the communist wave going through Europe at the time, or North Korea. The problem with the rest of them, outside of North Korea, is the fact that they've fallen. North Korea hasn't fallen. It's been a cult of personality and a totalitarian state since the 1950s, and for 60 years has not been toppled, has not seen any sign of weakness. So, based on the fact also that they have had proven human rights disputes, that they haven't been toppled, makes me think to myself, oh, they are definitely the most totalitarian. I mean, a totalitarian state on the biggest side could be Nazi Germany and the influence they had over Europe at the time, because they caused so much hatred and so much grief and so much sorrow for years. Not just in Germany, but across Europe. I mean, on a wider scale, you could say Nazi Germany was one of the biggest totalitarians in that sense. But then look at where the USSR did things. I mean, Stalin was just maybe an ally in the war, but my God, that guy had a quest for blood that I'd never seen. Mao, even. Look at the stuff happening in China, and technically still happens now on a governmental level. They're untouchable. Technically, in governmental terms, China is still a totalitarian state because no other party can win a fucking election, because there is none. I mean, then you look at Mao and the amount of people he slaughtered. You think, oh, good God, just for the ideal of what he did in Maoism. But I would definitely go for North Korea because, like I said, North Korea is still going. But in terms of, that's more of a modern current. Of all time, it's a toss-up between all of them. I can't really say which one, and it's difficult to say. Because it's hard to tell where these things are going to happen and come from. Now, we have Lollinol, or is it Iolin? I can't say names properly today. At the moment, it's 6 in the fucking morning. The question is, what games have you been playing that you recently got? There's only one game I've been recently playing, and I put the case around here somewhere. I've been playing Kirby Triple Deluxe for the 3DS. I'm a massive fan of the Kirby series, because it's platforming done right. Overall, it's a very fun game, which has actually got good usage of the 3D. That's a good point. This is a 3DS game that actually has good usage of the 3D. I haven't seen a 3DS game that's done that so far. So, that's brilliant on my end. I definitely recommend this if you've got a 3DS, or even a 2DS, but why would you want that? If you've got a 3DS, or a 3DS XL, or whatever it is, buy this. Buy this, it is fun, cute, but awesome platforming that Nintendo always seem to do right. Another thing that I've bought, which I haven't yet played, which I'm probably going to play today, if I get some time, if I can pick this up, is Child of Light. Now, I've seen a lot of good things about Child of Light from reviewers. I've seen that it visually looks stunning, and it looks amazing. Good God. Just seeing it makes me go, wow, this was hand-drawn. I want this. The other thing is, even though it looks like it's an RPG, it's more a platforming RPG combined there. I like that. Because if it was mostly just RPG, then I would definitely be on to that. You know? I wouldn't be onto it as much, because RPGs wear me out. And the thing is, guys, there's a lot of games I need to play over the next 4.5 months that I'm going to be having off from university. I'm going to be playing a shit ton of games. So I'm going to have to pick and choose what games I want to play. But all I know is at the moment, I've been playing Kirby, and I will be playing Child of Light. I also need to play the South Park Stick of Truth. I need to play Xenoblade Chronicles. I need to play Kid Icarus Uprising. I need to play Bioshock. I need to finally play Super Mario 64 to see why people go mental for it all these years. There's a giant box of video games that need my attention, and now with 4.5 months, combined with YouTube video making and other things, I should be in good stead. We pass into the hour mark. This Q&A has gone by a lot faster than I thought possible. Thank you. Speaking of which, the last question here is from NatureGirl30 asking, what are your plans after you graduate from university? Will you still do reviews like you do? Now, the thing with me is that when I came into university a year or so ago, I wanted to go into radio because it was me projecting myself, creating music programming for people. However, since I've come to university, my desire for music in general just has gone away. I still listen to it, but I don't invest into new music as frequently. And I haven't really bought... In fact, last year I've only bought a couple of CDs. I barely buy music anymore, which is really bad. But the thing that's definitely become bigger to me has been my YouTube stuff. Like, I have realised through the use of digital media, and I kept saying to myself, I'm on this course of digital media and I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what to do, because radio and audio is no longer a massive part of the course. And then it hit me. I'm doing video making on a regular basis for an audience here. I want to do something with that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to this summer, because I'm going to be investing in new equipment, in new things that'll make my content better for you, because I realise I want to get better at this. Being a person who's good at making content with equipment, with proper equipment like cameras, lighting, and I can script their own material and write their own material and edit their own material, and I'm sounding like Dennis Waterman from Little Britain here, this is really weird, who can make their own material and put it out there. That's good. I want to be able to do that. It's in the last year, when I've been trying to figure out what I'm good at and what I believe I could do, this is one thing that sticks out. You know, my student mentor said to me at the start of the year, your YouTube stuff is great, but it won't get you your marks that you need for university. And the good thing is, with the third year coming up, if I indeed pass, which I believe I have, the opportunity for me to take this kind of video production side forward is going to be there. I'll be able to make shit. I'll be able to use my projects to use what I'm going to learn over the summer to make things in university with this stuff. And I would want to do this. I would want to go forward with YouTube or a video making platform that I can just create stuff myself. I won't have to worry too much about other people's briefs unless they come along for stuff like that. I want to stay true to myself and my own content. So, if I wanted to, I would want to make YouTube and video making my number one priority and what I want to do with my time. However, that's not going to be a big money maker, is it? Until I start getting people through. Now, honestly, what will I do in the meantime? I would want to write WWE articles, and that's why in the next couple of weeks I'm going to be signing up to whatculture.com to try and lend my hand at article writing more than I did before. And overall, it'll just give me a good sense that I want to do some things I love. I was told by someone, do the things that you do in your spare time for the rest of your life. Because if you love doing it, if you do that as your main source of income, you will find no problem with it. And that's just something I want to take forward, that I'm enjoying video making. And I want to take it forward to the next level. And I am now mentally in a position where I'm going to take it to the next level. And that's one thing I want to do. And will I still be doing reviews if I leave university? If I take it in this direction? Fuck yes, I will do. So that's just how it's going to be. And guys, that is the last question, and the Q&A is done at 1 hour and 4 minutes at this point of recording. Yeah, that's great. I actually got this done a lot quicker than I thought. If you guys want to send me any more questions just generally for me to answer, do so on Twitter, do so on Facebook, do so on Skype. Wherever you want to do to find my contact details, I'll be in the description box there. If you've enjoyed all these questions that you've heard from me, click the subscribe button down there, because I've got a payback predictions coming on Saturday, I've got a payback review on the Monday, and then who knows what's going to happen. I've got 4 months free to just focus on video making, so who knows what I'm going to do. So, yeah. Follow me on this and it'll be all good. The Facebook page has been shut down. I will explain later why that is, which means you can't go on there. But again, Twitter is all well and good. I've now realised Twitter is my main base of contact here, so go to that. So yeah, I mean, overall, I've already mentioned my dedication to this medium and format. Let's see where it goes from here. Guys, I have been CreamCrazy. You have been people watching. This has been a Q&A for May 2014, and the next Q&A that I will be holding will be a live Q&A. It'll be a live Q&A in late June. When that happens, however, I do not know. So I will give you guys a heads up when that does happen. Cheers, guys. Have a fantastic rest of the week. I will see you on Saturday for my payback predictions. Cheers.